Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. It has been a while. If you have never seen my face before, my name is Abby. I am 25. I live in Texas. I teach middle school and I make videos about that and all kinds of other things. And so I'm really glad that you are here, whether you are returning or whether you are a first-time viewer. If you are returning, you would know that I haven't posted a video in, I think, almost 3 months. My last video, I think, was a teaching blog of some sort. And then it's been radio silence, both here and on Instagram ever since. And so I just wanted to tell you guys about where I have been, what's been going on in my life, what I have been thinking about, processing through, and things like that, and just catch up. And yeah, so I don't really know what this video is going to turn into. I'm just gonna share my heart with you guys, and I hope that you enjoy it. I do have some notes with me, so if I'm looking down of just like thoughts that I jotted down to make sure that I didn't just completely go off on a tangent and forget what I wanted to say. I have been having what has felt like a total life reset, where I kind of came to the place where I just felt very out of control, and not in a sense where I was like trying to take control of things that were unhealthy or that I didn't need to have control of, but more so felt the feeling that life was just like happening to me and I had no control over what my days looked like, over my emotions, how I was feeling, things like that. And I realized I just needed to slow way down and establish some healthier habits and boundaries in my life. And so basically the first thing I did was just take a huge step back from all forms of social media. I actually deleted Instagram off my phone. I haven't had it at all. I honestly don't know if I will ever download it ever again. And I'll touch more on that in a bit. But yeah, basically I just needed to take a huge step back in a lot of areas of my life and reevaluate what I wanted life to look like, what my perspective on my life was, because like I said, I just felt very out of control. And this isn't something that I feel like has happened all of a sudden. And my husband and I, we often joke that like sometimes whenever we get to the end of a long week, you know, we'll say, oh, it's been like such a week. And then a lot of times we just joke that, yeah, it's, you know, it's been quite a year, or like, yeah, it's been quite, 3 years. We've been married for a little over 3 years now. And we often talk about how ever since leaving college, because we got married right out of college and immediately moved back to the city where we grew up, that it has just felt very chaotic. We've had a lot of transitions the past 3 years. We both completely transitioned career paths. Aaron decided to go to grad school. He's about to be done with it, which is so exciting. We moved a bunch of times. We bought our first house. We have, tried to find like a church community, and that has honestly been more of a difficult process than we thought that it would be. I haven't really ever shared anything about that on my channel before, about just our process with trying to find a good church community in young adulthood, and how in adulthood that can just be honestly difficult. I might make a video about that later on, just like dedicated to that, because I feel like I do have a lot of thoughts, and I've talked to a lot of people who relate a lot to our journey and just how it's been difficult, but feel like you can always just feel like you're alone, because it's just not something that I feel like is talked about very much. Basically, the past 3 years have just been really chaotic. And so it feels like me coming to this place where I realized like I just need a complete reset on how I view my life, my day-to-day life. There's been a buildup to it. It hasn't just like all of a sudden happened. That is pretty much like 2 months ago. I came to that place where I was like, okay, I'm tired of just continuing this cycle of being like, okay, everything's fine. I'm on top of things, it's whatever. And then feeling like I just spin out of control again. And I realized it was deeper than just, I have a really hectic job. Like, obviously teaching is hectic, and teaching middle schoolers is hectic, and every teacher everywhere can tell you that our job is hectic. But I refuse to believe that just because that part of my life is hectic, that my entire life has to feel hectic and out of control. Like I said, I felt like my life was just happening to me, and I hated that feeling of just, I had to accept the fact that I was just going to feel chaotic and overwhelmed all the time. And I hated the fact that every time somebody asked me how I was doing, I would be like, oh yeah, I'm great. I'm just like so busy. Like, I hate that word busy. And I've been trying really hard to find different ways to describe my life and describe how I'm feeling when people ask me that question, because I realized like I don't even want that word like in my vocabulary anymore, because I feel like I just associate such like a toxic need for like productivity and just like things that are tedious or take a long time and like are a huge time suck, but don't really contribute to like the value of our lives, especially as Erin and I have thought about what we want the culture of our lives to be as we think about starting a family. And I'm just like, I just don't want busyness to like describe our life, because I feel like you can be doing a lot of things and have a lot going on, but it can still feel life-giving and something that is adding to your life and even adding to your rest if you're, doing things correctly, I think, to where you don't have to just feel burnt out and busy all the time. There's a number of different ways that I decided to tackle that. Like I said, the first thing that I did was I deleted Instagram. And I know that this is like so cliche, and so many people have said things about social media can just be really bad for your mental health and things like that. But for me, it was especially bad for just being like a huge time suck. Like, I would get to the end of the day and I would find myself frustrated with the fact that I felt like I had no free time. But then I would reflect on the day and realize like, oh no, there were like multiple periods of time, even if it was just 15 minutes here or there, that I, instead of resting or doing something that felt like I was investing back into myself or doing something edifying, I was scrolling through Instagram, I was making Instagram stories, I was, all of just like doing whatever it was, especially on Instagram. And there's been so many times where I have, tried to put in boundaries, where I've, tried to do like time limits on my phone and things like that. Okay, sorry, I had to stop the video for a second because our dog was barking to go outside. But like I said, I've tried to put time limits in the past and put boundaries between myself and social media, but particularly like Instagram and TikTok. And I have just come to the realization that I don't have the self-control to be able to, I feel like, have them in my life and use them in a healthy way. And so I think I'm just going to eliminate them. And it was like a humbling realization whenever I realized that. But I feel like there's probably so many other people out there who are like me and have tried to set better boundaries with social media and just feel like they keep failing. And I think at some point we just have to come to the acceptance and self-awareness that maybe it's just not a good thing for you to have in your life, period. And so I had deleted TikTok a while ago because I was spending so much time on it. That was the first thing I did, was I completely deleted Instagram, and it freed up so much of my time. And I have just been feeling so much lighter and so much freer since then. And it sounds like such a small change, but it's honestly had like a huge impact. And so then from there, I was like, okay, I have time to myself now. How do I want to spend that time? And I started to think about, hobbies that I've enjoyed in the past. But something that I realized is I have skills and hobbies and things that I've like wanted to learn how to do that I keep telling myself, oh, well, whenever I'm not working full time anymore, that's when I'll learn how to do that. Or, oh, and, a season that's not so busy, that's when, I'll do that. Or whenever we have kids, whenever I'm a mom, that's when, I'll learn how to do that. And I realized that I had this perspective of there were things that I really wanted to do and really wanted to learn, but for whatever reason, I was telling myself that I had to wait until a later season of life. But what it was doing to this season now in the present is I was not as content. I was not as grateful as honestly I should be. I realized that I think a huge part of that was for whatever reason, I was just telling myself that I wasn't allowed to do these things until later on down the line. I think I was romanticizing what a later season of life could look like and fitting those things into a later season of life when really it's like, why can't you start those things now? And so I have. And so I've really wanted to get into like gardening and growing our own food. And so I've started like very, very baby steps with that and trying to learn how to start seeds inside. So I actually have some herbs that I started from seeds, and I've never done that before. I've always bought like the little plant. But I researched how to do it, and it's going really good. I'll put in some clips here. I actually have them in the windowsill right up here because they're doing great and they're like growing. And I think that that's so cool. And it's like a new skill that I've never learned before. And I've also gotten back into sewing. I got really into that last year and it was so fun and I loved it so much, and I like sewed my first dress. And so this year I'm getting back into it and like making Christmas presents for some people. And then I also have learned how to bake bread, which I feel like is a very like trendy thing to do right now, but it's something that I've wanted to learn for a while. So I learned how to make sourdough bread, and I like started my own starter, and it took me like 4 times. I failed like 4 times with trying to start a starter, but it's been a really fun new skill to learn. And I just realized how long I think it had been since I had truly learned something new that I had never tried before. And I think it's just because I kept putting things off. Those were all things where I was like, oh, well, whenever I'm a stay-at-home mom and, I can devote myself solely to homemaking and things like that, that's when I'll like do those things. And it's like, why wait? I've also started running again, which I haven't really been into running, I don't think, since really 2020. I trained for a half marathon back in 2020 and I loved it. It was one of the hardest things I've ever done, but I learned so much about myself. I honestly learned so much like about my relationship with God and like spiritually during that time. It was really transformative for me, and I've been wanting to kind of get back into it, but again, I was like, oh, I just don't have time. Like my life is just so hectic. I feel so stretched thin. I want to get back into distance running, which for me, distance running means like anything over 5 miles because I am not a runner. I didn't grow up as a runner, but I would love to be able to work my way up back to being able to do 8, 9, 10 miles again. I just felt really good whenever I could do that, and maybe sign up for another half marathon, maybe eventually do a marathon, I don't know, but it's just really, it's really good for me mentally and spiritually, I feel like running is. And so I've gotten back into that. And oh, I forgot, the other huge thing that I've started doing again is reading. Oh my gosh, I have not read through a whole book in I think like 2 years, and I've gotten back into reading because instead of scrolling on social media all day, I'm like actually have time to sit down and read and like use my imagination, and it's been so nice. I got a library card again, which I haven't had since high school. I think it's funny that pretty much all of the hobbies that I have really desired to learn, that I have just now really been able to invest time into now that I have chosen to take a step back and decided to prioritize those things, they all involve a certain amount of patience. None of them are quick. Like baking sourdough bread, I don't know if you've ever done it before, but it takes anywhere between like 12 to 24 hours from start to finish. I've realized that like these things, I feel like I'm learning so much in like the practical things that I'm doing. I'm learning so much about myself, like emotionally and spiritually. And I don't mean to sound like woo-woo, over spiritualize everything that I'm doing, but I really feel like I'm learning so much about things that my soul needs based on the things that externally, outwardly that I'm doing, that I've thought to myself, oh, I'd really love to do that. I think that that sounds like fun. I feel like it's sinking into my soul deeper than I thought that it would. And so I don't know if that makes sense, but I feel like patience has been a huge one. Simplicity has been really big, taking things more slowly. I think gratitude has been like a really big thing that I've been trying to focus on. I feel like before I really took a step back, I was so caught up in feeling just absolutely run into the ground by life that I didn't have the capacity or have the space mentally to even be able to take a step back and be like, wow, I'm really thankful for my job or for my students or for my home or for my little family, my husband, my dog. I'm really thankful for our neighborhood. Just being thankful for little things and being content in this season. And I feel like I don't want to like give the perspective that because I'm now able to do things like sewing or, you know, gardening or things like that, that is what has brought me contentment. But I think it's more so, sorry, my dog's banging on the door, she's trying to come in. But I think it's more so just like the perspective shift that I've had in terms of why do I keep pushing things off? Why do I continue in this cycle of life that feels very chaotic if I know that it's not healthy and if I want to change it? And I feel like realizing that no, like you get to choose how you steward your life and how you spend your time. Like I'm not a victim of my schedule. I'm not a victim of my life. And I feel like I had that perspective. And so even just that shift, I feel like I feel so much more content with where we are. I feel like I compare myself way less. I feel like also probably deleting social media and Instagram has helped with that, with the whole comparison thing. Overall, I'm just in such a much healthier place with how I view my life and how I view our family and what we want, you know, the culture of our home to be, that I'm just really thankful. And I'm really thankful that I was brought to that point where I was like, something has to change, because it's just been kind of what's felt like really transformative. That is like kind of the update on where I've been. As far as teaching goes, I'm still teaching. I love it. I love my kids. I actually just got done with our midterm exams today, so I'm officially on Christmas break as of today. With that being said though, I have realized that I am a better teacher when I'm not trying to multitask. And what I mean by that is I've realized I feel much more at peace and much more in control, and much more like I'm doing a good job whenever I'm not also trying to think about the content I need to make for YouTube. That's not me saying that I'm never gonna film teaching content ever again. I'm definitely going to. I just don't know if it'll look the same as maybe what it has. Really, I love teaching and I really want to hone that craft and I really want to steward my job well. And so, yeah, that's just a little side note. This video is probably getting very long at this point, so I am going to let you guys go get on with the rest of your day. If you haven't made it to this point, I love you. Thank you so much for watching and sitting with me, listening to me talk for this entire time. If you related to any of this resonated with you, I would love to chat with you about it in the comments. I would say that you can DM me on Instagram or connect with me there, but I honestly don't. Like I said, I don't even anticipate that. I don't know if I'll ever use it again. So my page is still out there. So if you want to go scroll through some of my old pictures, you're welcome to. But like I said, I just don't think that that's going to be part of my life anymore. So YouTube is going to be pretty much it for me. And so I'm hoping that maybe that will also help me to set aside the time to make more videos and upload more consistently. I hope you guys are having a great holiday. I hope that you are able to spend some time with family and just be thankful and reflect on the year that we have had, whether your year has felt really great and really positive or if it's been a difficult year. I hope that you can just reflect and have time to just see how far you've come, maybe set some new goals for next year. I'm going to do that soon. Maybe I'll make a video about that, about what my intentions are for 2023, because I have been thinking about them a little bit. But thank you guys so much for watching. I love you guys, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.